Happy Information Wednesday, Shalise McQueen here. Per my teaser, I'm talking all about condo insurance today, specifically because this has come up a handful of times already this year. And if I'm seeing it, more than likely you all are experiencing it. So first and foremost, when you live in a condo association, an HOA, they do have a master policy because as a condo, you basically own your air and you own from your walls in. You don't necessarily own the building itself because you have common shared walls, etc. And with that said, these HOAs have a master insurance policy. However, as I mentioned, you own walls in, which means that you're required to insure your property from the inside, and they insure the property from the outside. So I've had several clients that have come my way this past year that haven't had their own insurance because they thought that the HOA took care of their entire property. Now, there are some exceptions to this. Every once in a while, I'll come across a master HOA policy that does include the interior building as well, but this is very rare. So more than likely, you are one of those people that definitely needs to maintain their own insurance. Plus, even if there is a master policy in place that does encompass your interior, more than likely the coverage is inadequate because they are doing a pro rata share for that entire building. So in theory, if they only have a max coverage of X and you need X, Y, and Z, you're probably gonna be left with some shortage, which is why you wanna have your own insurance. On the topic of condo policies, one thing that's different in relation to condos versus homeowner policies is homeowner policies tend to increase every year, the reconstruction, where condo policies typically do not. So it's very important that you check in with your insurance agent on an annual basis and make sure that you have adequate coverage to compensate for any upgrades that you did and also just increased with materials and labor that they are these days. The topic of condos, every insurance company, of course, is different, but there are different endorsements available to you, especially with farmers. We have a lot. And one of my favorites with condos, especially based on my experience with property management, is we have an endorsement called limited mold, and this provides mold coverage. Every insurance policy as it's written has a specific exclusion for mold. So unless you had this endorsement, you would never have coverage to fix the situation and remediate the mold. Another great endorsement to pay attention to when it comes to your condo is if you're in an HOA, is having something called loss assessment. And this provides coverage and protection for you in the event that your homeowners association provides special assessment or requires some kind of modification, and it's going to avoid you having to pay out of your pocket. So to sum up today's conversation, if you live in a condo and you have an HOA even, it's important that you have your own coverage and protection. It's also important that you do an annual audit to ensure that you have the coverage that you need because a lot of these policies do not increase annually. And more than likely, if you took a policy out 10 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it may be, you're probably underwater with what your coverage you need. So make sure that you do an audit. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of great endorsements to help provide further protection for you. Because of my real estate experience and of course my insurance knowledge, I am by far the best person for you to have this conversation and make sure you have the protection that you need and deserve. Remember to ask yourself, are you protected? As always, you can reach me at 602-525-5665 or email me at cmcqueen@farmersagent.com. We'll see you next week.